friends, and welcome back. Cumberland Outdoorsman out here at my shooting range once again with yet another one of my 22 rimfire series videos, and also with yet another Nylon 66. This one in Apache Black. It has the chrome barrel and the chrome receiver cover. I just recently acquired this little rifle and I wanted to take it out of the package and show it to you. And in this video, what I'll be going over is restoring the gloss on these stocks, because they come highly glossy from the factory back when Remington and DuPont incorporated the Zytel 101 or nylon to make these stocks. And they came, like I said, from the factory in a high gloss finish, and with time they get kind of a patina over them. It's not bad, I mean certainly acceptable the way it is, but I'll show you how to get a high gloss finish on yet another one of my Nylon 66 rifles that I can proudly add to my collection. And what I'll be doing is I'll be showing you how to field strip these correctly, and also how to reassemble it. But in the meantime, while it's field stripped, we're going to put a high gloss finish on this little rifle here, because the high gloss really will add to the looks and the contrast of that beautiful chrome receiver and chrome barrel, which a lot of people would argue that it's not conducive to hunting situations because it spooks game. But you know, if you're hunting out of a blind, or if you're hunting on the shady side of a tree you set up for a squirrel hunt or whatever, it's not really going to matter that much. And if you're rabbit hunting and you're out moving around looking for rabbits, it's pretty much negligible. So let's go ahead and get this thing field stripped, and I'll show you real quickly, it doesn't take long at all, how to get most of the scratches out and also to restore a nice glossy finish on your Nylon 66. Okay guys, before we get started, there's a few things that we're going to need to do this project. First of all and foremost, put the rifle on safe. Make sure it's unloaded. There's no ammunition present. Probably wouldn't hurt to take the magazine tube out and check again. But anyway, we're clear. And what I've got here on the table are just a few tools. Let me pan down here and show you what I've got. Okay, one of the most important things that you'll need is a good set of gunsmith screwdrivers. This one here was provided to us by courtesy of my good friend Wayne Jenkins, and I've used this set extensively because it comes with a full assortment of all different types of bits that you might run into, and things that you might need, other special tools that are included in this kit for most of your gunsmithing needs. We've got some of this complete compound here. This is a very fine compound used to polish out paint finishes on automobiles, okay, on cars. So anyway, this is probably one of the best that I've been able to find for this particular project. Now, I've got a high-speed drill here. I've got it set on 2. You don't want it on 1. You want it to rotate at high speed so that you get the maximum effect when you get ready to polish this stock. Okay, so we'll set it aside, make sure the battery is fully charged. Also, I've got some 1500 grit wet or dry paper here with some water, and we'll be using that to remove any scratches. In order to successfully field strip any Nylon 66, just follow these steps here. It's pretty easy. If you want a full teardown and reassembly of the Nylon 66, I've got a video dedicated especially to that, where I also refinish another Nylon 66, and I'll leave a link to that in the description below. Okay, first of all, like I said, make sure it's not loaded. Put it on safe. That's critical right there. Go ahead and remove the charging handle. It just pulls right out. We'll set it aside. Now we'll find the right screwdriver bit that will fit the slot of our screws here. One thing I need to warn y'all about, make sure you don't put a lot of pressure on these little screws because they will break here at the head. And you want to remove that. There's not much that holds these together, although they are robust little rifles. And folks, make sure you use the right screwdriver for your gunsmith needs. You know, don't use just an automotive screwdriver because you're going to damage the screws. Now this cover just slips right off. Underneath the cover, you'll find the ejector. You've got the bolt here. And you can cycle the action with the cover off to make sure everything's working right. We're also going to remove the barrel. And I've come up with a little tool that I use for these Nylon 66 actions whenever I get ready to clean one. You saw that at the beginning of the video. And what it does, it actively holds the action open. You just insert it into that slot right in front of the bolt, and the action is held open where you can clean it now and visually inspect the breech. You can actually leave this in place if you want to whenever you get ready to do your finishing work, but one thing that I would suggest is that you keep the striker, which is that part right there, in this position with the safety on. The reason you want to do that is you don't want to accidentally squeeze the trigger and then the striker flies forward and everything comes flying out of there. So for our purposes here, we're going to go ahead and remove the bolt. And all you have to do is unscrew the stirrup at the bottom here. Right there, just unscrew that, push up on it, and the whole barrel assembly will come out. Okay? Now you can remove the screw the rest of the way and take this stirrup out. Now you'll notice that there are two halves of this, two parts of this. And the one that says front, you want to make sure that that little peg right there lines up with the front of it. We'll put the screw back in there so we don't lose it. We'll put all these little parts right back into our storage compartment there. I'll go ahead and release the tension on this bolt for right now. And pull the charging handle out. You can remove the bolt if you want to. It's fairly simple, just slides right out. Then you've got this return spring and the spring guide. Don't worry, I'll show you how to put all this back together the way that you should. Now, in looking at this stock, I'll have to confess that I already did some work on this side here, but if you look at it here in the morning sun, you can see that it's kind of dull and it's got some fine scratches, just real light. Not bad. I mean, it's in overall pretty good condition, honestly speaking. Certainly good enough to use. But if you want to get it to look really glossy and very presentable, then that's what this video is all about. Okay. I'm going to lightly go over this stock with this very, very fine wet or dry paper. And it doesn't feel like you're doing much when you go over it with this. But you're removing a lot of the tiny microscopic scratches. Taking off any burrs. And just taking off that film that's on there that's actually collected on there over the years. This little rifle here was made in 1972, so that's several decades of accumulation. I'm just going to lightly go over this, okay? Of course, if you see any real visible scratches, any damage or whatever, like right there, you'll want to hit that, go over that. Okay, and once you get done going over it all with your wet or dry, then what you want to do is towel it off, get it good and dry, and then we'll apply the compound and go over it with the buffer. Okay folks, on this particular stock, I'm going to go ahead and go over it once again with an even finer grade of sandpaper, and that's this 2000 grit wet or dry. And I know that it's extremely fine and it doesn't really feel like you're doing much, but the finer the grade that you use, the better the job's going to turn out. So I want to go over all of the shiny parts of the stock. Try to avoid the checkering as much as you can. This is pretty tough material, so it's very resistant to abrasion and scratches or anything like that, so you're not really going to hurt it much if you accidentally go over that with your 2000 grit or 1500 grit paper. So anyway, I'll go over this pretty extensively here. Remember to keep it wet because that keeps the action going. It feels like I'm just rubbing on it with a piece of paper, to be honest with you. You'll get this kind of like a slurry on there, and that's just a combination of all the debris and stuff that's collected on the stock over the years, and also some of the plastic coming off as you're sanding into the material actually. If you watched the video where I restored my Seneca Green Nylon 66, it turned out pretty good using this method. In fact, it was very glossy. I mean, it was like a piece of glass when I polished it out. All right. You'll notice when you dry this off, it'll have kind of a hazy look to it. And some people might prefer that, you know, if you want to make a tactical hunting gun out of it or something. You don't want that high gloss. You can you can have that finish right there. But I'm going to try and restore it back to the factory finish as closely as I can. All right. We'll shake up some of this compound. And you can just apply it with your fingers if you want. Doesn't take much. Just kind of smear it on there. Just distribute it nice and evenly all over the area where you're getting ready to polish. Just like that. And now we'll go over it with the buffer. And at first, you'll notice it's kind of dull looking, but that'll work its way out. Now you don't want to stay in one place too long because you could burn the material. I mean, you're using a lot of friction here. You don't want to burn your stock, you know, damage it in any way. Okay, now you can see that gloss starting to return. You see that area I just went over? You want to continue your way on down, all the way until you get the desired finish that you want. Now I got the major portion of this stock finished here, and that's the rear end of this stock. But there you can see a beautiful glossy finish. There you can see that nice jet black glossy finish. That's the way that Remington and DuPont intended these stocks to look. Okay, I'll go ahead and finish working on these parts here. There you can see that dull finish in comparison. That's where I went over it with the paper, but all that'll come right out and return to a nice deep gloss black. So let me go ahead and work on the rest of this stock, and I'll be back with you for the reassembly. Okay folks, I went over the rest of the stock and I got it all pretty well restored the way I wanted it. I'll give you a closer look. Let me get it toweled off here and get all the fuzz off of it. Let me give you a close-up of it. You can see my reflection. Anyway, the reflection of the camera in the stock here. Okay, one thing I'd like to mention, you can go over this as thoroughly as you want. I've got it pretty well to my satisfaction. And I mean, these are older guns, and they're going to have a few flaws in them. You know, nothing is perfect. So just remember that. Even when they were factory new, you know, they had little flaws in them here and there. But let me go ahead and reassemble this little rifle and show you how I do that, just in case you do this and you don't know how to reassemble your gun. First of all, we've got the bolt, the spring, and the spring guide. Put the spring guide into the spring and insert it in the rear of the bolt, just like that. Okay? Okay, now you want to line up your return spring, and you want to put it inside of this guide right here that holds the striker in place, and just guide it into the rails. You don't want to force anything. Just gently guide it until it goes in, and then just slide it to the rear. For now, we're just going to put the charging handle in partially, just to hold it in place, okay? Okay, next we're going to install the stirrup or the barrel clamp. And remember, you've got two halves. You've got this thin sheet metal piece that goes in front, and that little peg right there lines up with the slot, okay? Go ahead and insert it with the front facing towards the front of the rifle. Just like that. Now we're going to go ahead and insert the barrel. And you want to line it up until your slot right here that's in the barrel aligns with your stirrup. And push down on it, and that'll hold it in place temporarily. Now you want to go ahead and install the screw that holds the stirrup in and clamps the barrel down. You don't want to over tighten this. Just nice and snug. That's good enough right there. Okay? That'll hold it in place. Flip the cartridge guide back over the barrel. Install the injector. It just slips right there into place. And now go ahead and remove the charging handle. Slip the receiver cover back on. Put the two screws back in. And you're ready to tighten them down. Remember, do not, I repeat, do not over tighten these screws. Nice and snug, just to keep them from backing out. That'll do right there. Okay. Put the charging handle back in. Make sure you go all the way in with it. Now the gun's fully reassembled. And there it is, folks. We'll go ahead and reinstall the magazine tube. And there's your fully assembled, reconditioned Nylon 66. So folks, there it is. That's my Apache Black Nylon 66, polished out using my method. This is by no means the only way to do it, but I haven't seen any other videos online that cover this particular subject. So I wanted to come out here and do this one because I just recently acquired it and share it with you in case you are an owner of an old Nylon 66 that needs a little bit of TLC, you know, a little bit of elbow grease and some patience, and you'll achieve a beautiful finish just like that. As you can see, it turned out pretty well, you know, not bad at all. Definitely better than it was, because it was just kind of a hazy, dull finish on it, and that was from years and years of just sitting around and not being taken care of too well. Now I use this same method on another Nylon 66 that I got a couple of years ago, this Mohawk Brown. And this rifle it had a few scratches in it. It wasn't too bad, but as you can see, it turned out really well. Give you a nice close look at that. And you know, I wanted to get some different colors of the Nylon 66 so that I had a pretty decent representative collection of when these guns came out and what was being offered at the time. Now, also a few years ago, I did a video on an old J.C. Higgins rifle that used a similar material. It wasn't the same as what Remington and DuPont came out with, but this is the old J.C. Higgins click-clack rifle that came out with a polymer stock. And this one here was badly scratched up. I mean, it had a lot of deep gouges, and I just worked on it and got it down to a nice glossy finish. I think I started with about a 300 grit paper and just went over it and removed nearly all the scratches. I don't even see a scratch in it now, but worked my way up to a 2000 grit paper and then went over it with that polishing wheel, and that was the result. That's the way it turned out. I believe this is tenite, and it just has a really beautiful, deep, dark burl look to it, like fine grade walnut, you know, even though it's not. But they just don't make guns like this anymore, folks. You know, there's so much character in these old rifles and shotguns. They made some shotguns with this same material. So if you have an old gun, like I mentioned earlier, that needs a little bit of work, you might want to try this method, and hopefully I was able to relay that message to you in this video on how to get a nice, glossy, shiny stock for your old .22 rifle or any old firearm that has a polymer stock. So folks, thanks a lot for coming along. I really do appreciate you watching. Hopefully you gained a few pointers and maybe a few ideas for yourself. And let me just remind you, if you like to go hunting, fishing, camping, shooting, hiking, no matter what your outdoor pursuit happens to be, I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. But also remember this, hit that like button, smash the bell icon, and subscribe. That way you'll know when more videos like this one will be coming your way. So until next time, y'all take good care of yourselves and get out there and enjoy the great outdoors. I'll be seeing you.